What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the KCM. It's time for week 2. And it's going to be hard to top that first week, Shun. My goodness, what a stellar week of StarCraft. With Flash coming back into the mix, and we had that 2-on-1 with Protoss and Terran teaming up against the Zerg. Such a great series of games, but we're sure gonna try. We've got Sharp Royal Speed, Snow Bisu Mini today, and Action Jaedong Soma, one of the highest ranking Protoss lineups that we've had so far.
Yeah, no, this is really impressive. I'm sure a lot of the viewers at home are going to be really happy to see this kind of squad put together. There's been a lot of times where Protoss just like relying on one guy trying to carry the torch and not really coming up to scratch as a result of it. And there's no soul key on the Zerg squad as well. And I mean, there's no players like Light or anyone too heavy hitting on the Terran squad. There is Sharp there, and Royal's also once upon a time a champion and a pretty good player, but hasn't been as consistent in times recent. So yeah, this is probably one of the strongest weeks for Protoss looking at it.
The fans were giving them a 69% chance of victory here in a poll, so Protoss looking good. Also, not going to have to send out a player first. So we've got Terran, Royal in the bottom right hand corner. So top right hand corner. Action over here in the bottom right. And guys, we're not going to do any spoilers for the ASL or for the qualifiers today. Shun's also not seen it, but those are out now, available on Artosis Cast, and there are a lot of interesting games there to watch, so we're glad to have you guys here watching KCM with us, and really looking forward to bringing you another season of the ASL as well on Starcast TV.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be saving myself watching them for a little bit closer to the time of ASL, so it can be really fresh in my mind where these players are lining up in terms of their performance. I have no idea how players like Soma are playing right now. I did see him absolutely dumpster Flash when he first came back to streaming and playing after his hiatus, so I have no idea how he stacks up against some of these other guys, but I'm pretty excited about that. Meanwhile, we've got Royal opening up with an 8 racks in his wall in, putting on some pressure now to action. He's going to have to respond with at least a few drones to try and slow down this bunker rush.
Not going to throw down the bunker just yet. Generally, the break point for Terran is when 3 Marines have been accumulated. That's when you're really able to start gunning down these drones, and it becomes very difficult to engage with the Terran player. He's going to try and get on top of this Marine here at the top, but now 3 are moving into position. Has to cancel that bunker. Did he actually get the refund on that cash? I didn't see the money go up there.
Yeah, I think he did. I'm not too sure as well, but this is really well played from Action, catching these, intercepting these Marines from the reinforcement. They're not quite getting the hot tour on that Marine, though, surviving with 5 HP, and now not enough drones in the natural expansion to slow down this bunker. One SCV will fall, but this second SCV will be able to finish up this bunker, so the pressure is still on. I don't necessarily think he's going to kill this hatchery, but he is going to be forcing up to 12 Zerglings potentially from Action trying to deal with this. He's got Zerglings on the periphery to stop any reinforcing Marines from joining this, but a second bunker might put a lot of pressure onto Action and force him to go for us around now with lots of drones and Zerglings trying to clean this up as cost-efficient as possible, but a few of those drones going down. 3 already, maybe even 4 or 5 might fall in the end. They do, he gets 6 drones in total. That's insane.
Oh, that's incredibly unlucky for Action. It's completely random the way that the bunker is targeting there. Starts to target down a bunch of drones, and Action not able to pull those out in time to save them, taking so much damage. Is this a recoverable position?
I don't even know, honestly. Like, it's going to be really tough. Action might be feeling like some kind of all-in might be necessary to have any chance in this game, but you only really need to kill like 3 or so drones to be comfortable with your position as Terran when you go for these 8 racks plays. Even 2 drones is kind of okay. You can sit back and macro and feel fairly comfortable, but 3, 4, 5, you're feeling great. 6, it's almost unheard of. It's almost game-winning damage, and Action, he's a pro gamer. He's going to try his best to come back from this, but it's not going to be easy.
Not going to be easy for sure. Royal Has been known to make some pretty serious errors, though, moving out when he shouldn't. Maybe there's a chance Action can catch him with a big round of lings. He's moving out already. Look at how aggressive he's being with these. He's not kind of reading the room, not really reading the situation here and just thinking, you know what, I've killed so many drones, I should be in a great position as long as I don't die. He's instead looking for more damage and trying to force out additional lings from Action, put on extra pressure, even when I don't think he needs to.
I mean, this is great game theory from Action, though. He's kind of calling his bluff and hasn't built a single additional pair of Zerglings. He's just been churning out non-stop drones, so that play from Royal didn't really do anything. Action just had great game theory there and realized, hang on a minute, the only way I'm winning this game is if I kind of go all in on my risky strategy of just pumping drones and hoping to come back in the curve of this game slowly but surely, and maybe that's the best choice here. The problem is now Royal has a pretty strong move out timing, hasn't yet got Stim fully upgraded, so can't just like pull the trigger on pushing the Stim button and rushing across the map to quickly finish off Action if he had no Sunken finished up. So instead he's going to be more careful and worry about, you know, some kind of Zergling all in, which is very smart because it would be very common for a Zerg just to pull Zerglings at this point and try and do a wraparound on these Marines as they're trying to move out with speed. Looks like a second Sunken now on the way from Action as well. So I actually think that with this amount of drones he's been able to pump out and with a macro hatchery that's been thrown down, this game is recoverable just barely.
You might be right. Still, half the supply of the Terran player. Action is hurting for drones, and he's been forced to build 3 sunken colonies at the front here because he knows there's no chance he's going to be able to have Mutalisk in time for this. It's already nearly the 7-minute mark, and that can just kind of tell you guys how far behind Action has been put in this game by the early pressure. 7 minutes is quite late for Mutalisk, and generally when there's an 8 racks, things get pushed back by about a minute, but we're going to see Action get pushed back maybe by, you know, 2 minutes here, maybe a minute and a half. If he's lucky, but he's just finishing up the Spire now, and those mutas are going to start. Let's see when they actually start to pop out and go for some aggression.
Yeah, we got an Evo Chamber here just to mitigate any chance of an early Sunken bust. Range wasn't finished, so if he did commit to the Sunken bust, that Evo Chamber would have helped out a lot in preventing good surface area from targeting down those Sunkens one at a time. Range is just now about to finish, and we might see a belated Sunken bust from Royal, but I don't think so. I think just barely Action will get a Mutalisk out in time. That Royal's got to make turrets back at home and keep some Marines back there and not actually fully commit to any kind of break early on in the game. So Action has technically weathered the storm, but as you say, he's still really behind the curve now. I just think that, you know, his chances are non-zero at least. Like, he's not definitely dead. He has a tiny fighting chance here.
Absolutely. Action's gonna put this micro to work here, see if he can somehow eke his way back into this game. Scanning, looking for an Overlord there. Royal catches one Muta, moving forward in the rally, and will move up to the front. Look at how much pressure he's got here. Generally, it's the Terran player just kind of hiding scared in front of their natural, trying not to lose this initial bio ball, but Royal is here right in front of his opponent's natural, way out on the map, applying that pressure, and Action can do nothing but stay here and just try to pick away at this bio ball.
Yeah. Hopefully Royal will make a few mistakes for him to exploit. I mean, that's a pretty good trade, killing off 3 Marines without losing a single Mutalisk, but has to be careful. One of those Mutas already low HP. I think sometimes in this situation you want to cycle out the low HP Muta. Yeah, he just did that. He took out the low HP Muta because he knows he needs to get value trades that have any chance at staying on top of the curve of this game. So if he can, like, you know, kill a few Marines here and there and not lose any Mutalisks, eventually he might be able to catch up to the scaling of the Terran player. And to be fair, like, because of the 8 racks, everything's been pushed back by at least a minute. So that factory timing, it's only finishing up now at like already like 9 minutes 20. So technically this is not the worst case scenario, but it looks like Royal was thinking about potentially pressuring the natural. It's not a good idea from him. Now his Marines are kind of out of position. Some Speedlings as well supporting on the ground, cutting off the path of retreat, but there's a massive train of reinforcements coming to try and join forces with this viable, but it's not going to be in time. Action just barely going to be cleaning up those Marines before the rest can join them.
Ooh, gets a couple of, medics on the way out. Diving in on top of this, that's a little bit crazy action. Losing more mutas than he needed to there. Getting a little overconfident with the cleanup, but Royal pushes him back and rejoins with those remaining medics. Strong bio ball out here on the map, and it's going to be reinforced here shortly. He knows about that base down in bottom left. There's a fire bat there, I think, hitting that hatchery right now, preventing drones from being made. Lings will go down to clear that up, but that's quite annoying for Action, and Royal knows all about that location. He knows where to apply pressure, and he's going to be hitting with a tank push very soon.
Yeah, luckily the tank push will take a little bit of time to get underway. You usually want to wait until you've got at least 2 tanks, most commonly 3, to actually pull the trigger on that, just to make sure there's enough DPS to chew through the Sunkens in time and what have you. But I mean, as it stands, Action's technically alive in this game. It's taken him a long time to get a few drones popped out in that bottom left third base. He's even going to cycle over 3 more now to supplement that and try and get those resources coming in as quickly as possible. But it's taken a long time to start mining that additional gas critically. He's only been on 600 gas a minute for a long time in this game, and that might spell disaster for him, because he's not going to be able to pump many units or afford his transitions in a timely manner. He might have to cut somewhere. If you like, say he can't afford to make the carapace upgrade early on, or you know, his hive's a little bit slower than it should be or something. He's making the Defiler amount at 11 minutes 20. It's okay timing considering the 8-rack situation and the fact that they lost so many drones, but it's still not going to be nearly enough in time to slow down this tank push, so Royal could break him.
Yeah, this is a scary moment here for Action. He's doing everything he can to slow down this bio ball, looking for opportunities to snipe those tanks. He's adding on extra sunken colonies now because he knows what a dangerous situation this is. He just needs time. Defiler's Mount is nearing completion, but that consume upgrade is still a long way off. Is it time to dive on the tank? He might have to. He is forced to dive there, and he gets the kill without losing too many of these mutas, and so definitely worthwhile. That's going to slow down this push by a lot, but here comes another tank, excuse me, to start bashing at these sunken colonies. He's going to go ahead and siege that up here soon. Oh, and a run by down in bottom left is going to kill so many drones.
That's really well done from Royal. That might have just squashed the hopes of Action in coming back in this game. Killed quite a few of those drones. He's going to try and swing in for another tank snipe, but he's not going to be successful. Already going for a preemptive bust here. There's still lots of lurkers, so Royal has to be careful about the positioning of his units. Action trying to desperately stop those Marines, getting behind his mineral line and driving the final nail in the coffin, but the writing is on the wall for our Zerg player. The chances of coming back from this position is very rapidly approaching 0. He's going to lose this natural expansion and be forced to tap out. Really well executed game here from Royal.
Action getting taken out first by Royal is a bit of a surprise. Now here Royal up against Bisu, who spawned in the bottom left-hand corner. We're on that crazy map, Shun, the island map that's going to be on display for ASL 20. Very excited to see how TVP goes on this map, but Terran already off to a great start. They are given only 6% chance of winning this week of KCM, so starting off with the win, I mean, it's pretty great here. Royal, let's see if we can take another one. This is going to be tough with this island setup.
Yeah, I think the observers, they're pointing out that there's this like ground where you could say land tanks between some of these island pockets and, you know, put on a bit of assault. So I imagine because of the more wider range of opportunities for Terran to do harassment with drop, I imagine a lot of Protoss players are going to be considering going double robo on this map and having a lot more shuttles, a lot more reavers at their disposal in that early mid game, just to prevent Terran from being tactical and annoying with some of these island pockets, and also because of the fact that there's no minerals blocking any of these islands. So say a Terran player could very easily just float a command center early on in the game over to one of those expansions and get away with some pretty easy greed. So you want to keep your range of play open as a Protoss player, maybe with a double robo, and be able to go both aggressive and defensive in some of these weird positions.
So this is interesting. Royal scouts 12 o'clock. He's expecting that there could be some sort of proxy play, but in fact, Bisu went for a very fast Nexus. Oh, dude. This was an 11 gas from Royal, and he's going to throw down his factory on Bisu's side of the map. Bisu knows that something is suspicious. Something suspicious is going on because that SCV, he saw it with the retreating vision of the probe, and he's not seeing it coming into his natural, so he's got to be suspicious here. If he throws down a Forge, no, he doesn't throw down a Forge. Okay, Cybernetic Core on the way. If he had thrown down a Forge here, he would have had nearly the perfect defense against this. Because of that high ground, it's so hard to push up.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he had more than one SCV mining gas and there was no factory planted yet, the only thing that can mean is some kind of proxy factory. But I guess Royal maybe was hoping that he would assume it's some kind of like Mong strategy where it's like a CC first, but with gas before the CC. But it is going to be a two-factory proxy here. This is insanity on this map. Maybe Royal knowing that this isn't necessarily the best map for Terran in some situations and wanting to catch Bisu with his pants down early. I'm not sure if these players have played this map enough to like know all of its intricacies. Probably not. There's probably a lot to this map that they haven't yet figured out, and it looks like Royal wants to simplify the game state early by just going on with a lot of pressure, and there is nothing to slow down this Vulture getting all the way into the main base.
Yeah, this is awesome play from Royal. He knows that with the long rush distance, it would be very difficult to punish a Nexus first here, even with the 11 gas. But placing the factory on his opponent's side of the map allows him to get in here so quickly. He's able to get past that first Dragoon, get some damage there in the main, and then follow this up with the 2 factory that's nearly impossible to stop. This is going to be so hard for Bisu. If only he'd made a Forge, placed a cannon here on the high ground, which would have made things so much more difficult for Royal. It's still going to be tough, though. It is still going to be tough. Pushing up that high ground is not going to be easy.
No, he's got 1 machine shop, so he can make a tank from this position. He's bringing down all of his Marines as well to soak up phase disruption shots, and a shield battery critically coming out from Bisu. That's going to be his one saving grace here, potentially. He does need something like this, and maybe even something else to help wall in. Yeah, another pylon would be a good idea, just to stop these Vultures from getting good surface area. He's trying to push up now, laying down some mines in the wake of this wall. Bisu sends out the Zealots, a sacrificial lamb, trying to get a big mine splash detonation on the front line. Not successful in doing so. Probes coming up to try and defend as well, but Royal is pushing the issue, laying down mines at the feet of these Dragoons, and with that tank hammering down on those units with its arc-light cannon, there's not much hope for Bisu from holding this. He's now being driven away from the range of that shield battery, and I'm afraid that Bisu's gonna have to tap out here.
Yeah, this is a really well executed attack from Royal. I feel that Bisu just didn't quite realize what was happening quickly enough. Maybe he thought it was something freaky, like a I don't know what he was thinking when he got into that main base and saw no factory. He's got to be confused at that point, but he didn't really react properly. There's a few different ways you can deal with that. You can get a Forge, make a cannon immediately. You can very quickly add on extra gateways and try to get as many Zealots and Dragoons out as you can to try and deal with something like that. But he didn't really do either of those. He kind of went middle of the road, 2 gateways with the shield battery. It wasn't enough, and Royal takes that victory. Continuing the streak here, guys, the 6% chance of winning. Royal increasing those odds. Royal on an absolute tear. Spawning over here in the top left-hand corner. We got Jadong in the bottom left. Crowd favorite, fan favorite, one of my faves as well. I'm sure you can agree with that, Shun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hasn't been as consistent lately, and we're still waiting for the Tyrant to return, but it's a real joy to watch this guy play.
I think he's one of the nicest pro gamers in the scene as well, in terms of his personality and his temperament. Like, when he's on stage, he sometimes looks a bit like laser-eyed killer, but the reality is this guy is very chill, very nice, and extremely humble as well, I want to point out. And actually didn't play as much as people think he did back in the day, especially even during his reign of terror, where he was really on form and everyone was calling it Jaedong versus Zerg. He actually practiced a lot less than most people thought he did. He's definitely one of those characters that has been like hard to peg and like figure out in the scene, but he's been a welcome addition to it for quite some time for me. Back in the day, there was players like Yellow and Savior and July Zerg that we all looked up to, but Jaedong very quickly took the mantle of the most popular Zerg after that.
Jaedong does have a kind of a funny and goofy smile. You see from him sometimes. It's a little bit, it feels out of character because we know him as the Tyrant, but he does have a more goofier side to him as well. Outside of that, you know, laser focus you were talking about, when he's in the booth, he turns it on, but Jaedong is a funny character. You know who else is a really nice, friendly character? I didn't know this, but Nada. Nada is actually a really nice guy. I saw some conversation between him and DeWalt in a recent cast, and he was, you know, chatting with them, very friendly, talking English, and you know, encouraging him and stuff. It was a really sweet conversation, so I'm really glad to see that. Whenever I see a pro gamer, especially Korean pro gamers who are really friendly, it kind of warms my heart.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen Nada be very polite to a lot of foreigners back in the day. I remember when Rhett used to play against him occasionally. He was always friendly with anyone that he came up against. And honestly, one of the most talented StarCraft players we've ever had is Nada. Like, he trained even less than people like Jaedong and still was able to dominate. There was this one time where his father had passed away and he was really depressed and drinking and not even playing and just, like, you know, kind of occasionally posting on forums about how sad he was and, you know, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden he kind of like woke up and said, you know what, I'm gonna come to this next tournament and I'm gonna dedicate the victory to my dad. And he went on an absolute rampage and like didn't even concede a game. He was just stomping face and he didn't even really practice for the event. It was insane.
That's a legendary match. That's a great legend for Nada. There's so much history behind these players. And by the way, Jaedong here, getting back to the game, Jaedong in this game did not react at all to the bunker rush, and Royal still canceled it. He could have finished that bunker, but instead he decides to cancel. He wanted to force drones off the line, didn't really have a huge aggressive angle there, but the kind of bluff fell on deaf ears. Jaedong, I don't think he even saw that bunker before it was canceled.
Yeah, I'm not even actually sure about that. Maybe the Overlord actually did see it, the second Overlord in the natural. I think Jaedong knew it was a bluff because of the scouting drone saw the timing of the Marine and realized that, you know, it would take it, you know, 20-30 seconds for that Marine to actually get there. So even if he did finish it, it probably wasn't much of an active threat. So very correctly read the situation that it was most likely some kind of bluff play. Sometimes you can force a big overreaction out of these guys. Even just pulling like 1 or 2 drones to try and slow down the SCV building it tends to happen as like a minimal response. But Jaedong, yeah, like didn't even flinch in the face of that and has decided to just go along his normal pattern, taking a third base on location. This is this kind of style that I would like to play as well. And honestly, this is the kind of style that has the widest range of potential if you can get away with greed and you never have to make too many sunkens and what have you. So I feel like the pressure is now going to be on to Royal to actually, you know, do some move outs now, force some Zerglings, force a sunken, or Jaedong is going to potentially run away with the curve of the game.
Finally, Overlord makes its way all the way around and get into position here over the natural, trying to backstab there, trying to slip through. Maybe get a link into that main base, try to disrupt some turrets building in there, but not quite able to do it. Royal being pretty conservative with his first group of Marines, as you do, as he should. with the build here, the +1 early eBay build that he's gone for. You don't have a lot of power at this point in the game, no range just yet, and so he'll have to rely mostly on turrets and Marines to keep those turrets alive here. Kind of an interesting setup of the turrets for Royal. He does not have a bunker here at the front, but he's got a pretty reasonable spread of turrets. Just a bit of a funny one there right over the ramp that's trying to keep that area safe.
I like this. I like this a lot. I see players like me who sometimes go for this kind of style as well. And controlling zones is so important in Terran versus Zerg. And you don't want to let the Zerg just, like, say, get on top of that ramp and stop your Marines coming up the ramp at any moment. So I love this time-saving device. He's going to dive on it now. Jaedong knows that's a critical turret to eliminate, to maintain possible harassment. Royal's going to go on the counter-offensive and force the Mutalisks to run back. But Jaedong looks like he wants to commit. I don't think he's got any sunken colonies back at home, so he has to turn around now and start to challenge these Marines, basically force them to stim and then wait the stim timing out. And when they do try to traverse across the map, going in to try and pick one or two off at a time is basically the game theory 101 there. So I don't think Royal's going to be able to progress too much across the map, and that's a nice little win for Jaedong, picking off that turret, taking out that supply depot. Puts him in a pretty comfortable position now.
Yeah, he got what he was looking for. He wanted to kill that supply depot, and that turret was in his way, so he gets rid of it. He opens up the position. Now can look for some potential Ling backstabs and picking off some of these Marines in the rally point as well, I think, to protect them out here at the front. And so he's actually done a great job limiting the number of Marines out here. You can see just a tiny bio group is going to make its way back home, and Jaedong is growing the number of mutas here. Oh, this little Marine group sneaking past over to the bottom right. This could actually throw a massive wrench into Jaedong's plans.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be really annoying to deal with this. And he's going to scout the den timing as well. So he's not only killing the drones here, but he's seeing the exact timing of when that lurker aspect will be finished up most likely. Oh, a bit of a miss micro there from Jaedong, flying over the top of those bio units. He was in such a great position a few beats ago. He's still in a pretty comfortable position, but he needs to collapse onto this bioforces now and solidify that position while making some drones to replenish that third base gas mining. If he doesn't clean up this bio now and do so in a very efficient fashion, he's in a little bit of an awkward spot, but he does have just barely enough critical mass that's been reached to basically dispatch that without almost losing anything besides a few Zerglings and like one Mutalisk. But wait, the two mutas that were sent down there to clean up those Marines, I don't know what happened, but maybe Jaedong forgot about one of the Marines or something, but there's actually another Marine down there at that third base location, stopping any drones from mining down there. That's a big wrench in the ebb and flow of this game for the Zerg player.
Yeah, those Marines that've been sent down to bottom right are really helping to keep Royal in this game. He's been losing tons of bio over and over again. He's been pushed back all the way into his base. But he's managed to take little stabs at the economy here and slow down Jaedong enough to where maybe he can still hang on and put out a great game here. Put the pressure back onto Jaedong as these +1 Marines start to really reach a large enough force. He is going to have that +1 armor finishing up now. There it is. +1 armor is done. He's getting into his science facility, and so science vessel is going to be coming out here soon. But the transition is well underway. Jaedong putting out a great game, and Royal just barely kind of hanging in here for now.
Ooh, I actually really like Jaedong's position. Like, he's done a great job. The fact that he's gotten away with like not making pretty much any defenses up until this point, it's not the end of the world that he did lose a few drones in the end. Like, he kind of already made up for that with the fact that the bunker rush had to be cancelled, didn't really do anything. He got away with making almost no defenses, and his muta control has only really slipped up once, where he kind of flew over the bio for a few seconds and took some free damage. Besides that, he's been really on top of everything, and now he's even going to get a tactical snipe on this gas in the natural expansion and stifle Royal's ability to make vessels, and this is going to be a tipping point for the Zerg, I feel.
While force moving through the map, heading down here towards that bottom right-hand corner again. Lurkers are in position though, and this Defiler's Mound is nearly completed. Oh, running into the mutas, or running into the Marines here one time. Loses a couple of those again, so I'm making a few little minor mistakes here, but overall the position is solid. Jaedong moving into this next phase of the game. Hydralis Defiler may be the right course of action here for Jaedong, although I have seen him go for Ultralisk in a position like this more than once.
Yeah, you can pretty much do what you want when you open up with the on-base third base, which is why it's such a flexible and strong way of playing, but it's a little bit risky as well. Jaedong's been able to get away with murder though, and look at how many lurkers there are here. There's 5 with extra stacks, so there's like 7 or 8 lurkers here. 7 I think total, and Jaedong will not be broken, and with the fact that he took out that natural gas, it's really limited how many vessels Royal can produce all at once. Like for a time there he was only making 1 vessel with those 2 starports. Jaedong needs to be a little bit careful with these Mutalisks and at least use them for anti-drop. But look, the southern flank of that lurker is weak, so maybe Royal can try and exploit an angle, but not quite. I think he misread the situation and didn't identify that 2 of those lurkers were actually doubled up and stacked on the left-hand side, and wasn't able to exploit that position at all. And Defilers are now popping out. Jaedong's going to go to the next phase of the game, and unfortunately for Royal, I think his game plan is starting to dry up.
That was a very sneaky play by Jaedong, putting those a whole bunch of different stacks. It's really rare that you have stacks like that. Usually you have everything in one stack or everything spread out. Very rarely do you see lurkers spread out like that with a couple of random stacked lurkers in the line, and throwing that together kind of baited Royal into a bad attack and ends up losing quite a bit of bio. He did pull back in time to not lose everything, and he's going to follow up here with some drops. Maybe he can get more damage done with that than he did with this initial attack.
Well, he's going to have to try and do something. I mean, that's a good irradiate there. He just needs to try and get a bit lucky on killing these Defilers and hopefully find a window of exploitation. I don't know, man. I mean, the drop ships... Go on.
That Nidus Canal, I think his stuff is getting stuck as it pops out of there. I saw Defiler stuck on the right-hand side of that Nidus. That is one of the most annoying things for a Zerg player. And look at this, the drops are coming out here right now as the mutas are just kind of attacking this factory as well. He totally missed this drop coming across the map, and it might just be the end of him.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, like, these drop ships could be the one thing that could actually have a chance of dispatching Jaedong. He has got a few necessities though. He's got a few Scourge here and there with Overlords on the periphery. The problem is that this is a lot more than just 1 or 2 drop ships, so even with a pair of Scourge to intercept, it's not going to be enough to avoid disaster. There's 4 drop ships that are going to be hitting him soon. Only 1 pair of Scourge. He has got some Zerglings to act as cleanup crew, but really these Mutalisks should be on anti-dropship duty right now, but they're across the other side of the map. The Hydras kill one of the dropships, and Ling's now chasing underneath the wake of those other air units to try and catch the Marines as they pop out. Does try and get an unload in the mineral line to body block the Zerglings from finding good surface areas, so the Marines will still trade effectively regardless of that, killing a few of those drones. And finally the Defilers coming out to respond as well. One of the Defilers out of position will be eliminated though by Royal. He can just pull back and kill the Spire now, maybe an Evo chamber. So this is still pretty good damage from Royal, but it's not that critical damage he was looking for.
Yeah, this is painful for sure. Jaedong gonna bring those Mutalisks all the way back home. They're super useful. Oh, the Nidus! Wait, the Nidus just went down. Great spines though. Actually killing most of those Marines. Only a couple of Marines left here to continue to push the issue. Another round of Marines coming across the map, but he should be able to clear up the majority of this stuff. Should be able to get a few more kills here on the retreat. Looks like Royal gonna going to continue this push, though, running right up here towards the natural. I doubt that there's any lurkers at all at this position. He's got one lurker and a defiler. That might be enough, and he's going on the counterattack. He's getting aggressive.
Yeah, and with this Hydra Defiler composition, it's very cost efficient the longer this game goes on. Royal is going to need to make a lot of tanks. Just one factory worth of tanks might be not enough, but actually these Hydras are in a bit of a bottleneck. They're finally getting the plague he was looking for, but did lose a lot of those Hydras before achieving that. There is a massive warpath that's starting to be opened up on this eastern flank to pressure. There's only a single Firebat and Mad Medic to defend that. No bunker, no nothing. And with these tanks relegated to just holding the rally point to protect this precious factory, Jaedong might find a lot of damage at this third base. Scouting SCV has identified that force. Vessels moving over to start irradiating the lurkers and the defiler over in that location, but this could still be a lot of pressure mounted to Roy. And look at this play from Jaedong, a 1-2 punch combination, trying to take out the tanks at that rally point location, and both dropships barely surviving with like 1 HP.
No way. I can't believe those dropships actually survived. He's going to target down the command center. He could go after those vessels as well, but back at home, a lot of damage is being done here. Royal pushing into the natural while Jaedong is trying to break his opponent's front as well. Is there going to be a Dark Swarm for any of these lurkers? No. Most of the lurkers go down, and so Jaedong is actually in a lot of trouble here. He does have quite a few Hydras here. He needs a plague on this stuff, though. Dark Storm is just not going to cut it with this many Firebats.
Oh, the Firebats almost ravaged all those drones, luckily getting taken out just before too many fell. Jaedong trying to hammer on the gates and see if he can get any critical damage done at the natural, but not going to be so. And with a few Firebats underneath those Dark Swarm, we'll take out what few pockets of lurker resistance remains in the remnants of Jaedong's force. But, I mean, this is a crazy game. The fact that Jaedong stopped mining at the third base, sniped that command center, I believe. The game has kind of reset itself a lot here. Jaedong's in a little bit of trouble, but you don't need a lot of supply in these situations. As long as the Terran's not mining on too many bases and you've got this very cost-efficient Hydra Defiler setup, Jaedong has a lot of lifelines left remaining for himself, and the fact that the Terran is now starting to become mined out and that CC was eliminated, Royal's in a bit of a sticky situation. He's either got to cut production to afford placing down another command center, or he'll even have to float one of his other command centers over to that third location.
Here comes the big plagues on a lot of these units in the open ground. This is the perfect opportunity for Jaedong to make full use out of this composition. He's going to get some great trades there, picking off a lot of these units, trading off just a few Hydras and letting a few Defilers die as well. Here comes another Defiler up to the front. Needs to get a big plague on some of these science vessels. A lot of reinforcements making their way over towards the bottom right. Do not manage to connect. Here comes that Defiler. Can he get a good plague on this? Not quite able to find it. Going to pull back that Defiler now. Just keep that thing safe. He is pretty low on gas. Can't afford to continue bleeding these.
Yeah, this is a really wild game because, like, on the one hand, Royal had a pretty superior standing army, but the fact that he's having to be cut out from mining anything right now, it's 3 bases Zerg versus 0 base Terran, at least for a few beats, finally going to be floating over that command center and start mining yet again. But it's maybe taken enough of the wind out of the sails of Royal for Jaedong to quickly catch back up into the ebb and flow and establish himself yet again. But now Royal has floated another command center down to the mineral only as well. He's going to try to leapfrog up to 2. Oh, that plague is monstrous, though. I mean, this game could go either way, still saying. It is too hard to call.
It really is, Shun. There's so much action that's gone on so far, so much back and forth. It's really hard to tell where you're at in a game like this. And Jaedong here just struggling to keep himself alive. Royal's floated both of his CCs, one to the mineral only. Oh, one to the third. There's a huge connections on those vessels. All of the vessels that were earlier flagged have finally been taken down. Firebats underneath these Dark Swarms are able to actually push back the Hydras for now, but he's getting Lings into the mix now as well. He's getting a few more lurkers out here as well, and starting to push back on Royal. Royal on just 120 supply, Jaedong on 84. It's such a tight game, Shun.
And Jaedong is being really hyper aggressive with some of the positioning of his lurkers in the back lines of Royal as well. The Firebat's doing a lot of heavy lifting to prevent Dark Swarms from just equalizing any game state that Royal throws his way, though, and doing a pretty good job of spreading his bio as well to mitigate how much value that Plague is affording him. So Royal, with even just a handful of units, is still technically trading all right in this game. He's now got another tank out on the map and might have enough to hold Jaedong off, but I don't know, like, I think Jaedong is starting to do it. He just needs to now go on the offensive while taking a fourth base.
Yeah, gonna take the fourth base over here at the center left. I thought he would go for 6 o'clock, but looks like he has decided this is a little bit more accessible, a little bit more defendable for him. He's gonna be pushing in this direction anyway, so taking that behind the push makes a bit of sense. We'll see. Jaedong, maybe he could afford to go for a double expansion, and it might be necessary here because 21 minutes, he is running low on a lot of these gas geysers. The main and natural are just about mined out, so he needs a lot more gas income rolling here if he wants to keep alive in this game. Dark Swarm on top of this with some lurkers underneath. The Firebats really can engage. He's going to be able to push everything back, but Irradiates do their job, and the Defiler push has been stopped for now.
Yeah, I mean, with these 2 bases mining for Royal, Jaedong's in a little bit of trouble, but he has got a bit of time still to work with. He's not just yet mined out on this main and natural. He's double expanding as well, so if, say, 9 o'clock does get sniped, he has got that backup pocket at the 6 o'clock, which is great for Jaedong, and he does need to be hyper aggressive right now. You don't want to just sit back and defend as Zerg. That would be a war of attrition that he probably can't win. So I do like these moves from Jaedong, but he's being a little bit too blazing with how he's positioning his units. He needs to wait a few extra seconds for his Defiler to get up into favorable areas to throw down those Dark Swarms, and Royal is also being a little bit aggressive, pressuring the rally points of Jaedong, but the tanks are being sniped by Jaedong, and if you can never reach a high count of tanks, it's very hard to trade cost efficiently against Hydra Defiler, so Jaedong is still keeping his win condition alive.
We're seeing some insanely low supplies battling back and forth in this TVZ. I mean, we haven't even seen, you know, a 150 supply Terran. We've hardly seen 100 supply Zerg so far here, and it's just staying scrappy. Both players putting on so much pressure to each other, coming right up here to the front. Jaedong is a breath away from this third base, and he's still being pushed back here. Another little army makes its way over towards the bottom right. Is he actually going to break this? Shun? It's so close right now, but both players are putting on a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's a bit of a base trade scenario. Jaedong's going to have to evacuate that expansion and try and just ram it down while giving up that base, and instead cycling everything over to the 6 o'clock and try and drive some nails into the coffin of Royal. He's slowly been crafting this entire game. If Royal identifies that those drones just move to the 6 o'clock, he can still keep the aggression going on his side of the map, but Jaedong is being relentless right now, swiping every science vessel out of the sky and now beating down onto that 3rd base location. Royal's got a 4th base location in the top right pocket as well. If Jaedong identifies that and swings around to that as well, we're going to have such a low economy situation. This game has been absolutely insane from start to finish. Probably one of the best games of the night.
Absolutely. Royal versus Jaedong is really delivering here. Another attack pushing in towards the space. Can he actually make it work right now? There's still a little bit too much here for Jaedong. All these slings haven't been brought to bear here just yet. That last Hydra standing his ground, and the Hydras over here in the top right are going to make all the difference in the world. Every single SCV here likely to go down as they try to retreat. Maybe a couple going to escape there, and that CC will be taken care of. I don't think there's a CC on the map here, Shun. That was like the only one.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's actually mined. I don't think he can build another CC, and he's just committing to making units and going all in and hoping to kill Jaedong at his last mining base at a 6 o'clock position. Jaedong just has to defend. There's a massive, monstrous plague covering all of those units, making them so much more tastier to gobble up in a few moments here. He is still going to be able to break through to that 6 o'clock location, but his army is not long for this world. Jaedong should be able to eliminate him now. Most of the drones might go down, and if he kills the hatchery, he's going to be long distance mining, but there's no CC on the side of the map for Royal, so eventually Jaedong will play catch up and rebuild everything, even if the hatchery was to go down, and he's not even going to achieve that. Jaedong has done it and has shown us a really exceptionally high level game here, a very scrappy game and an exciting one at that. And honestly, like, I love the way he went for a maneuver based warfare style and didn't get caught into the trap of going for an attritional based style of plan where he just sat back and allowed Royal to take map control. I really love how Jaedong's gone about this.
Wow, Royal was able to afford 2 CCs. That's crazy. He's got a CC in the main, and he's going to be floating the CC over here to this mineral-only base. He's not taking in any money right now, and really neither is Jaedong. Great plague here on top of a lot of these units getting awesome trades, but as the Firebats wrap around and start to surround this, Jaedong gonna have to return back home, and Royal will get that economy back online here again. He's at 37 supply, and he just got hit with a massive plague.
Yeah, I don't know if he can catch up anymore. I think he's done. We'll have to see. Jaedong could still technically throw the game, I guess. That's a really great 3-way pincer maneuver, though, cleaning up the last remnants of the bio-standing army of Royal. 23 supply. Most of those are SCVs. No real production underway because of how much of a trickle that economy is coming in for Royal as well. Jaedong is probably going to force a GG out here as this command center dies, and what a spectacular game from these two. And the fact that we've now eliminated one player from either side of these dugouts, we're going to have a real special week of KCM here, and a clapper well deserved from KCM.
Like that last week of KCM, that previous game is going to be hard to beat, guys. My goodness, what a scrappy finish between Jaedong and Royal. I don't have the highest opinion of Royal as a player these days, but he put out a great series of games, already taking out Bisu and Action. Now we're going to get Snow versus Jaedong. Some sort of pause going on here. Bear with us, guys. We'll get right back into the action.
지금 이제 경기를 하고 있는 선수들 자체가 선수 네네 또 그날의 수입이 또 네네 콜이 저 PD님이 들어왔는데 확인해 보니까
All right, guys. Snow spawning over here in the bottom left-hand corner. Jaedong in the bottom right. Whatever was broken has been fixed. As we jump into this next game, this new map, I'm honestly having a hard time remembering all the names of the new map. Can you help me with that?
This is, I'm just going to call it the new Circuit Breakers, because I'm terrible with names. There's like entire songs that I know the lyrics for from start to finish, and I still couldn't tell you the name of the band or the song. In the words of a comedian I like from Britain, if I knew everything I knew and where I knew it from, I would know half as much saying. By the way, Snow just said wait a minute in Korean there, but we don't actually know what the pause was all about, but we'll have to wait and see what kind of craziness is in store for us. Snow has been improving his versus Zerg a lot lately.
I mean, it's a great example of what you just said. You knew the line, but you didn't know the name of the comedian. It's a perfect example.
David Mitchell.
Well
okay,
done.
David Mitchell. Okay, I remembered.
Okay, you remembered. Knockout is the name of the map. Kind of came to me as you were talking about Circuit Breakers. This is a very Circuit Breakers-esque map with a really interesting twist. That ditch there in the front, providing a bit of a awkward push location, a nice defensive spot, especially for Protoss when dealing with these Hydralisk busts. We'll see if that comes into play here against Jaedong, with Snow setting up his first cannon and getting that Nexus online.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about how these two individuals stack up against each other in particular. I don't think I've seen enough games between these two gamers, and honestly, Snow has come leaps and bounds in his versus Zerg play. Like, gone are the days where we thought he was only a gimmicky player that had good Reaver micro against Terrans. So, like, he's, over the last year or two, has really well rounded himself and smoothed out the edges, ironed out the creases on these other matchups, and he's now a much more complete player and looking like a real like ASL finalist kind of contender guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Sulky wasn't in the mix, how many Star Leagues would Snow have won by now? How many ASL championships would he have at this point? I think it might have been a few.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Jaedong in the old Kespa era. If there wasn't for Flash, how dominant would he have become? But I guess that's just speculation. Snow, he's yet to take a Star League hope. Probably one of the most deserving but unaccomplished ASL contenders, right? Like, this guy deserves an ASL, I think, more than anybody else.
Yeah, he's definitely up there on the list of people that deserve an ASL. There's other players as well. You could say Best really deserves one. I'm sure there's a few other guys that I just can't quite think of at the top of my head right now, but there's a handful of guys that I would say are in that sort of like A tier, almost S tier of player range, and certainly are deserving of a title. They've just either not been lucky enough or not quite been well rounded enough as players to make it happen, or someone like Sulky just keeps getting, you know, put up against them and they get slapped down each time. It is what it is, though. Some of those guys have put out great games against likes of Sulky, so I still want to keep their hopes in my heart.
Absolutely. We got Jaedong here trying to defend this initial Zealot harassment. Hasn't really been making much off of this third hatchery and is trying to get into a bit of a tech play here with that Spire coming online. Drone's popping up. Oh, is he gonna lose one? Oh, it's so close, but he just barely manages to survive that. Just kind of allowing the Zealot to bang on that hatchery for a long time while making sure that he can prevent the probe from coming in for any sort of scouting information. Finally going to be able to deal with this Zealot. And he's having a very hard time getting two Lings to attack, and so this Zealot's getting way too much value.
Yeah, finally gets the 2-on-1 trade, but that's a really annoying spot when you got a base like that where the Zealot only has to defend one choke between the minerals, and then when you're behind it, there's still only one point of entry. It's really annoying for the Zerg to line up those Zerglings in such a way that two can hit it at the same time. Sometimes it's down to luck with the unit pathing, but you can sometimes help that out with some manual move commands to align the Zerglings as you need them to. Looks like Jaedong is going to be just going in for a pretty standard 3-hatch Spire into 5-hatch Hydra kind of way of thinking at the moment. Corsair making its way downtown to the natural, so to the main and then the natural to scout out how many drones are in production, how many hatcheries have been planted to kind of start to isolate the range of play that's afforded to Jaedong. He doesn't see the natural gas, but Jaedong actually starts his second gas at the third base. So the Corsair now thinks this is just potentially a 5-hatch Hydra play, but actually this could be Ogre Zerg. So the fact that he hasn't spotted this third gas is the gas at the third is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, this is a really smart play from Jaedong. If you notice, he built one pair of Scourge at the natural, one pair of Scourge at the third, and made the gas at the third so that he could potentially shoo that Corsair away and hide the fact that he took this gas as early as he did. And so, yeah, you're completely right. There is a big potential for a lot of Mutalisks to be made, along with a bunch of Scourge to actually try and break Snow in his main base here shortly. He's trying to track down these Zealots. If he gets a trade with the Zealots right now, removing that threat before the the +1 upgrade comes online, that would be a huge win for Jaedong, but this is a few too many Zealots to deal with right now. Are we going to see that Ogre Zerg play? Yes, so many mutas are going to start popping out here, and there's that third gas as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I imagine we will be seeing at least 10 Mutalisks with maybe 12 Scourge. It depends on how much he wants to commit to it beyond that, I would say. You don't have to go too crazy. You can do a very light style where you only make 5 mutas for cleanup and maybe snipe some probes, or you can go all the way up to like 10 plus, which allows you to run in there, snipe cannons and high templars and what have you, and really ramp up the pressure. Looks like he might catch a Corsair for free if Snow's not careful as well. Does actually kill one of those Corsairs on that intercept trajectory. Really well played from Jaedong. Scourge are like the dumbest units in the game. You have to manually move command them on top of the Corsairs and then detonate manually as well. And he's coming on them very sharp angles to try and find connections on those Corsairs, and also doing good chase micro with his mutas, taking out another Corsair as well. Snow doing a ring around the rosy off those cannons to try and eliminate them slowly but surely and buy enough time for those Corsairs to stay alive. But 2 Corsairs already eliminated is a big win for Jaedong.
A little bit surprising we don't have any sunken colonies at that third base just yet. Kind of relying on the mutas for the defense against these Zealots, so can't really dive in just yet. Without that additional ground defense, Zealots would do a bit too much damage to him back at home, and so he's kind of relegated to just defensive duty for now while Snow gets prepared for the potential of Ogre Zerg. Maybe a big switch is coming here from Jaedong. He's just going to go ahead and build a bunch of Hydras. This is a crazy play from Snow. Look at him taking the third base behind this. What confidence he has to just go ahead and grab that.
I think he's pretty sure that Jaedong will be distracted by this little Zealot and DT that are the Zealot hit squad and DT that are out on the map right now, so he's going to be afforded just barely enough minutes to set up that Nexus, start making some cannons over there, and then with what remains of his Corsair fleet and a storm or two, we'll be able to hold that. And the fact that there's not been Overlord speed yet, this means that DTs can also play a defensive role here and prevent anything besides Mutalisks from being an active threat. So if he does get a good preemptive storm with those Corsairs, he can, you know, just completely wipe out the Scourge with that storm, and then hopefully those 5 Corsairs will be able to do enough heavy lifting to defend against the mutas.
Oh, I know this feeling right now, what Jaedong has. He's thinking, that is an illegal third base. I should not allow this third to go up. He's going to bring up a whole bunch of Lings here from the south. Try to maybe pincer attack this. Try to bait out some storms if he can before engaging fully with the Scourge. The Scourge dies so quickly with the storms, so he's got to be super careful to keep them spread out and try to angle them so that they can get a surround on these Corsairs rather than just driving in a line against those and getting completely splashed down. Catching the mutas, getting on top of them, and actually killing a lot of these mutas is going to bring forward the Scourge now. That was a bit of a rough trade for Jaedong, taking a lot of damage on these mutas and hardly getting anything in return.
No, you're absolutely right, though. This is a bit of a weird move from Snow to get away with this. It's almost like the bishop on the chessboard suddenly moving like a knight and flipping the color of its square over, and shouldn't really be allowed to get away with something like that, but he's done so here and gotten unpunished enough that Jaedong's now in a little bit of trouble, and those mutas are now seriously bruised. Oh, and without the Overlord speed, it's only just now finished. He did even take a few free losses to that Warp Blade as well. Nothing really going right for Jaedong. I feel like he needs to just expand and hope for the best in the macro game. All of his tactics shenanigans have kind of fallen flat on their face. Maybe the Scourge can connect here and maybe dive into... Oh, he loses all of the mutas to one single storm. They were so bruised that they got eviscerated underneath that High Templar's storm and only killed one of those utility units as a result, trying to go for a massive flank pincer maneuver on this third base to try and squash it at long last, but there might be enough of gas in the engine of Snow to hold on to this. 3 cannons were able to be built here, as well as 1 critical storm, siphoning off, but more and more reinforcements streaming streaming in from Jaedong to try and hammer down on this third base. Cannon's starting to fall. There's one High Templar that's not quite got enough energy, and it looks like our Zerg player, despite having a bit of disarray to contend with, has been able to muster enough forces to kill this third base at long last, Sam.
Wow, beautifully done by Jaedong. You know, that's such a hard maneuver to pull off. Getting the full surround on that base, the high ground Templar with Storm, Cannon, Dragoon. Very difficult to hit that from all angles and keep the Hydras alive at the same time. Not allow those critical storms to go down and just kind of tear the army apart. And I mean, I said it before, right? That was an illegal base. That should not be allowed. And I thought for a moment there that Jaedong was just going to dive in with the mutas and try to kill it and try to stop it from going up. But he played it pretty slowly. He really took his time there. He set everything up. He did the dive with the mutas, got as many kills as he could, got the High Templar kill that he needed to allow this base to be broken. And now he's in a fantastic spot. Snow is completely stuck in his base, and probably the strongest Protoss player in the lineup is in danger of being taken out right here, right now.
Yeah, the one thing going for Snow was there was a single Zealot in the northeast quadrant that did deny the fourth base from going down for a little bit of time there, so he has slowed down the expansion efforts of Jaedong as well meanwhile. But this is looking pretty dire for Snow. It's going to be so hard for him to not only break out but catch up to the Zerg. That's a pretty beautiful storm there, but as long as Jaedong keeps storm dodging in and out and just harasses Snow as he tries to break out for another expansion attempt, this is going to be going pretty good for Jaedong. Now lurkers are on the way to set up a contain as well, which is another thing that Snow has to contend with. He has to kind of stay active and maintain breaking out of this position. He can't just allow Jaedong to contain him like this with this many lurkers, so he's going to rotate around on the southern flank, take this other high ground ramp area and try and fight Jaedong back on two fronts. But Jaedong still has an opportunity to run down towards the rally point area and start to close in and tighten the noose around the neck of Snow.
Yeah, this is classic move from the Zerg player, just sending in the lurkers to take over that rally point area, preventing reinforcements. Now he's going to come up onto this high ground as he's pulled some of the units over to that left side. Going to try and flank in here, get a few kills, bait some zealots in. There's the High Templar moving into position. Might be able to snipe that down as well. Archon's been made here, but he is running dangerously low on extra units here, fodder for these Dragoons to help them stay alive while the Dragoons can deal their damage. And now he's being pushed all the way back into the natural. He's going to lose that Nexus, and with that Nexus going down, the hopes of Protoss are falling with him.
Yeah, he's got that fourth base finished up, and he will only saturate it once he's confident that Snow can't break out anymore. He's got like 2 drones mining there just to supplement a little bit of trickle so he can do as much pump as possible to try and seal the deal on Snow right now. Snow is desperate to get an active threat out on the map, so Jaedong can't just consolidate all of his forces into this contain effort. He did snipe the Observer as well, which slowed down when Snow could challenge him at any junction. And just as that second Observer's now come out, he's taken the high ground position yet again, slowing down the advance of the Protoss player and giving himself more time for more rallies of units to cycle down here. But he has committed a lot of forces to chasing down those zealots in the top right, so Jaedong hasn't got all of his forces to bear right now. And Snow tried to sneak a base here at the 9 o'clock as a bit of a consolation prize, but even that's going to be forced to be cancelled.
He will go ahead and retake this third base, but he is so close to running out of minerals completely. His main just about out, natural about to go dry as well. You can see 90 minerals there, 60 minerals over here. He's got another minute or less of time on these bases, and this Nexus is going to be finishing up barely in the nick of time to continue that income, but he desperately needs another expansion already. And Jaedong is closing the news. He's completely surrounding him with all these forces. It's going to be very hard to maintain this base, not let alone taking another one at this point.
Absolutely. He's got a few drones transferred over to that fourth as well, so now his mineral income is slightly better than it was before, so he's really churning on all cylinders. And unfortunately for Snow, that will probably lead to him being eliminated here. He's actually just started to eclipse him in supply, as well has Jaedong, and he's threatening two maneuvers. He's threatening us around on this third base attempt, as well as pincering by throwing down attacks on that rally point and driving a wedge between the third and the natural rally. So Jaedong just has to do one really last exceptionally well executed hoorah attempt now, but with some good storms, maybe Snow can hold back the enemy at the gates. A lot of those lurkers kind of stacked up, and with some dragoons being used tactically to snipe them on the retreat, maybe he can get a good value enough good value trades here to make it work, but I don't think so. I think this is going to be a slow, painful death for Snow.
My goodness, that storm was insane. So much value there. Really no point for Jaedong to continue to tack up. No real reason to go into hive here. He just needs to keep Snow off of a fourth base. That is his one and only goal at this point, and he's doing a great job of it so far. He has a massive army in the center. He's going to be retreating back here to the high ground, but the further Snow moves out, the easier it's going to be to pull him apart in all these different locations. Snow trying to take bottom center. That's the cue here for Jaedong to start this attack. Gonna move into position to start hitting this Nexus. Try to force it down, try to cancel it if he can here before it even gets close to finishing up. Lurker's going to burrow over here on the right-hand side, causing another threat for Snow to have to worry about. He's bringing down more and more forces here. He's going to open himself up, though, to more attacks coming through on these other angles.
Yeah, it's pretty Zerg 101 when you've got a high ground third base for the Protoss player, but you've got 4 bases as Zerg. You just force a fight when they try and take this critical fourth, and it's working out pretty good for Jaedong. He's now ahead in supply by about 20 or so. It's a pretty tight choke for him to attack into, so if there was enough High Templars here for Snow, maybe he could hold on to this base. He's doing a pretty good job of that thus far, but eventually does lose that Nexus, does get 2 of those High Templars sniped as well. Jaedong's got just barely enough units that he's not even having to bring them all to bear. He's just like throwing a few control groups of Hydras in at a time, and when he needs to, he can bring down more and more reinforcements from that center position. And he's also strangling Snow out of the map from taking any other bases. He's basically forcing Snow to come down to this 6 o'clock pocket, which is easier for him to collapse onto as well. There's not really much hope here for Snow. He's getting some pretty good storms into the pockets of lurkers, but slowly but surely, Jaedong's going to bleed him dry.
This is a fantastic finisher from Jaedong. He's even added another base in the top right-hand corner, continuing to grow here as he turns the screw on Snow, who's just desperate to get another base up. Great storm there in the middle of all these Hydras, but the writing is on the wall. Snow has to make this work now. He's got to crush this army and take this base, or his days are numbered. He's getting pushed back now. Jaedong eclipsing his supply, and there's hardly any mining going on for Snow. It's going to continue to get worse from here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Snow's drying up way too much to take this base. He's now completely mined out. He's got just 1 base worth of mining, whereas Jaedong has got fresh bases set up in the top right, like you were saying. He's going to be absolutely powering up with no hindrance, whereas Snow, he's kind of trickling out units as and when he can. And unfortunately, that's going to lead to a very dire situation where Snow is just bleeding units left and right and relying on lucky storms to carry him in the game. And maybe if Jaedong had bad execution and allowed a lot of his units to just sit under storm and die for free, there's a chance here for Snow. But as long as he denies this 4th base going up and has some reasonable spreading of his units and storm dodging, he's gonna eventually win out on the trading game.
These are some good trades once again for Snow, but it's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take a miracle here for him to get this 4th base up. Jaedong just spreading out further and further, finally going to be able to cleave through the remainder of this army. And, you know, Jaedong's kind of slowing down right now. He doesn't have as many units as you might expect. Just adding in some lings here, and it looks like, you know, maybe he dried up a little bit more than we expected. His natural is not really mining here, and he hasn't transferred a lot of those drones over just yet. I think they're heading up to top right now. So there's a slight lull here for Jaedong, and there's quite a few High Templar making their way forward. A lot of storms are going to come down here. This may be the final hoorah for Snow. If he can break this base, he's got a good chance. But if he gets surrounded and finished off here, it could be the end. Lurkers pushing forward. I don't see a Nexus coming up for Snow behind this. He's betting everything on breaking this base, and Jaedong is slowly trickling in further units to actually block this.
Yeah, it looked there for a second that maybe there was a hope for our Protoss player, but when all's said and done, it seems like there's just too much mass that has been thrown the way of the Protoss to slow this down. But Snow has a few reinforcements as well. He's going to try and make it work either way. With a good storm here or there, anything is possible. So the hopes of Snow are actually still alive. Maybe he can bust this base down quickly and start to snowball the situation from there. Some Zerglings trying to be thrown at the Protoss force and slow down that effort, but actually with the Dragoons laying siege to the Zerg, he will eventually start to clean up some of these hatcheries and stop some of the critical mining of Jaedong and take a little bit of the wind out of the sails. He's not actually really mining very many drones on the 3 o'clock as well, so with that base being shut down, Jaedong is predominantly just mining on this base here in the top right.
Oh my goodness, is he actually doing it right now? These lings are so powerful. Jaedong has +1 armor, and there's only +1 attack for Snow at the moment, which is really harming him. It's taking 2 hits, or 3 hits, excuse me, per zealot, per ling to actually take those down. And he's got a crackling upgrade as well. I don't know when he had time to slip out a hive, but somehow Jaedong managed to get that hive out, and so those lings are extremely powerful, but there's so little left for Jaedong right now, and he's actually doing a counterattack over the top right. Snow is, so he's trying to get in there with some zealots. Looks like that's going to be shut down. That's going to be blocked, but I mean, this is so close, guys. This is super intense. Who is going to win this game right now? Snow has bottom center.
I thought for sure Jaedong was going to be closing out this game, but I'm not so sure anymore. Like, this is a really scrappy game again, and we're in a very it's a real treat for us here as casters to be able to have such back-to-back, not necessarily one-sided games. I thought this was going to be turning into a one-sided game where Jaedong was just going to be smashing Snow, but unfortunately, that's not turned out to be the case. Now Snow has this base at the 6 o'clock position. Jaedong is now currently, like, basically even with him in terms of mining. I think the 3 o'clock is actually almost mined out, so you could actually argue that Snow has a bit of an advantage now, but Jaedong's going to try and snatch that away from him, go on a massive 1-2 punch combo at the 3rd and the 4th simultaneously. Cannons are just now finishing to be warped in, though. I think Jaedong is starting to overstep his welcome a little bit. He does snipe down those cannons, but I mean, he luckily pulled out the observer outside of that storm, or there would be no more detection for these 2 lurkers here raining down on him with subterranean spines. Another cannon warping in but gets eliminated. This is such a hard to call game, saying it's back and forth non-stop with the trades. Jaedong once again ahead in supply. I don't even know what's going to happen. With like 2 good storms, maybe he can hold on to this base, but I think Jaedong might overrun him.
66 supply now? Are you kidding me? Snow's got nothing. He's got 700 minerals in the bank and nothing here to defend the Dragoon's fall. The probes are going to be driven away here. Jaedong mining on basically 1 base in the top right. A DT makes its way in. Is there going to be another miracle DT to save the day for our Protoss squad? It doesn't look like it. Looks like Jaedong knows about that and he's going to be able to clean it up.
Yeah, he's gonna get like 5 or 6 or 7 or so kills on that DT. Eventually the Zergling stream in there. Yeah, 6 kills on that DT. Does a little bit of damage, but not enough to compensate for losing that 6 o'clock base. So we definitely went on a very strange journey here in this game, but the result will be the same. It does look like Jaedong is going to be the victor here, but I mean, I'm still impressed that Snow was able to turn this into an actual game. For a second there, I thought he was going to make a comeback, and that would have been really crazy considering how far ahead Jaedong has been for the majority of this match. I don't even know what to say about that. It's just a testament to how far Snow has come in his PvZ overall. Gone are the days where he was looking a little bit silly and unsure of himself. He's having a lot more confidence and even able to keep his mindset in a positive fashion when dealing against these seemingly insurmountable odds.
Yeah, I mean, this is for sure a testament to Snow's ability to just hang in there and hold on against a Zerg player who is kind of dominating him. Jaedong had an amazing start to this game, and now, I mean, he's still in a good spot, but it's been so back and forth, and things are incredibly scrappy right now. This base is going to be retaken, Shun. What am I even looking at?
I don't even know anymore, honestly. This is one of the crazier games we've had in KCM in a long time. Well, that's going to be such a good High Templar snipe. He will get it. These few pockets of Zerglings paying dividends right now, really starting to limit the power of Snow by taking out some of that critical splash potential. He's just going to start flooding Zerglings Snow's way and hope there's not enough storm to just wash them all away. And I don't know, man, this is such a wild game. It's hard to call. Technically Jaedong can still throw the game and Snow can actually technically win this, but with good execution I think Jaedong should be the victor.
Just Zealot High Templar right now. It's one of the more cost efficient unit compositions. It's very cheap. You can get a lot of units quickly. Those Dragoons are going to be very hard to reproduce, and so he hasn't been reproducing those. Oh, a bunch of Lings get into the mineral line, and GG is finally called. Oh, what a game. Dude. Royal versus Jaedong and Jaedong versus Snow. Absolute bangers this week in KCM. What an absolutely fantastic series of games here Jaedong has been putting on for us. This is all I could ask for and more, Shun. And guys, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and check out our other content. We're going to be doing ASL this season for Starcast TV, SCSL, and much more. So stick with us, join the Patreon, support the channel, support us in our adventures here in Broodwar. Thank you so much, and we're going to be continuing on now with Sharp spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner, Jaedong in the bottom right on Radion. Is Sharp the man to take down Jaedong? Here, are we going to see another amazing back and forth? Really, Sharp is capable of putting on some great games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've got close spawns on this horizontal axis at the bottom, so a direct path for things like Mutalisks and dropships, so definitely could be the recipe for fireworks again. And it would be kind of a real treat to see Jaedong in back-to-back nail-biter games like we've been seeing. I do think that sometimes it's a factor of his inconsistency. Like, I think if this was Jaedong of old, we wouldn't even be having much to talk about. I think he would have just stamped out Snow and we wouldn't be, you know, having such close games. I think because he's a little bit shaky in his execution, that it does make for more exciting games, even when he is in an advantageous position. But I also do think that it's a real testament to Snow and how far he's come as a player in that matchup. So either way, I'm happy as a spectator and a caster fan.
Yeah, his resilience is something else, man. Coming back time and time again to ASL, being kind of disappointed over and over again with his results. You know, second place again and again, third and fourth place so many times, just not quite being able to get that title. But trying so hard, putting in so much effort every single season to try and make that dream a reality. I, for one, really hope to see Snow win that title at some point. But one thing's for sure, he's not going to go out easily.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people share that sentiment, not just with Snow specifically, but, you know, just like, oh, we want to see something different. You know, we've had Sulky as champion so many times in a row now, and humans, you know, they care a lot about novelty. So they want to see something new, they want to see something fresh. I imagine a lot of people are going to be rooting for players they wouldn't usually root for, just to kind of keep the scene a bit more spicy, you know?
Everybody loves a hero, Shun, but they love more is to see a hero fall. Sulky, he's been at the top for such a long time. Cheering for his downfall is going to be a common sport, I believe, this season. How many people are looking for a change-up? Someone to come in and shake up the scene. We're looking for that Protoss savior, somebody who can make it and actually give us a Protoss win for once. It's been such a long time. I think Mini was the last Protoss to actually take that out. He is in this lineup here today. He's going to be coming out next. Will he be going up against Jaedong or Sharp? We're about to find out, guys. We got Jaedong here throwing down his Spire. And what's the build from Sharps? Looks like a 2 racks play from him.
Yeah.
He's going to be putting on some early pressure with this shorter rush distance here on Radeon.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope that Jaedong doesn't go too much on a warpath, even though it's exciting to see. I really want to see some games from Soma. I haven't seen a lot of him since he's come back. We said earlier I saw the games where he was absolutely trashing Flash with some really well executed all-in plays and making Flash look a little bit silly on stream a while ago. Haven't yet seen probably as much of his games as you have, and I'm curious where he lines up right now and what kind of style of play he's adopting. So even though I love Jaedong, I hope he doesn't just eliminate everyone.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shun, as much as I love Jaedong as well. It's a shame not to get a little bit of a download on what Soma is looking like here before this upcoming season. Has been much anticipated making his way back into the scene after being in military service South Korea for such a long time. He's finally here and ready to perform, and he's kind of waiting on the sidelines to show us his stuff. Gonna hit the stim button. Sharp going for the kill here. Can he actually kill these sunken colonies in time? He will get the sunken colony. Only one shot, 2 shots go off with that first sunken colony. All the Lings are gonna die, and I think Jaedong's dead. That's it. He's done it.
I think I'm going to get my wish saying I said I didn't want him to survive too much so we could see Soma. Maybe the universe heard our little request, and, you know, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you might just get it. He's going to target fire down this hatchery potentially. It's so low. Jaedong has to challenge the Marines. HP being used as a resource right now to trade off the Marines, and he's actually going to save the hatchery. So hold your phones for a second, because the game is not over yet. He did lose a few of those drones, but not nearly enough to have to GG out of the game. Does still have a transitional point, despite now having a bit of an advantage. Does Sharp, as long as he holds the line against this Mutalist counterattack, he's going to be in a pretty phenomenal position.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that hatchery was dead. In my mind, that hatchery was absolutely dead. This is where you pause the game and say, kill your own hatchery, because it's just so damn close. But Jaedong did a great job allowing that hatchery to take damage just long enough so that he could slowly whittle down that Marine count and eventually overtake it. Now going to come in here with a Ling counter. He's actually going to get on top of a lot of these turrets. He's not re-droned back at home. All the drones he's lost, he's just been replacing them with Lings, pure Lings coming out for him. He's actually going to get on top of the majority of these Marines. He can go after the Marines and now get on top of these turrets as well. He's doing a fantastic job here, ripping apart Sharp. Are you kidding me, Shun? You've got to be kidding me.
This is crazy. Like I've said before in previous weeks of KCM, I love being wrong, especially in Starcraft, and I'm wrong here again. And I'm actually kind of happy to see it. This is such a crazy comeback from Jaedong. This is the Jaedong of old, this tyrant that's able to snatch victory from the claws of defeat every single time and find these tiny little windows to exploit. It's really unfortunate for Sharp. He done significant damage to Jaedong despite not actually killing the hatchery, but wasn't able to defend against the counter-attack. He's just barely repairing that turret, but the production line is completely exposed, and the main win condition for Zerg in these kinds of tactical situations is being at a camp on top of this production line. Mute is actually not firing right now. They're bugged out trying to shoot something out of range just to recommit those to attacking manually. But yeah, these Marines aren't long for this world, and this is a slow death for Sharp. He can leapfrog turrets over to these barracks, but eventually they will fall.
Yeah, he does have a barracks in the natural, so he can make some Marines there, get into that bunker. And he is building a bunch of turrets down here on the low ground. He does not want to leave this game right now, dude. I mean, he is so close to dead, but he knows how good of a position he was in before this counterattack did so much damage. He knows that he should have won this game, but that attack from Jaedong was so on point, getting in here just in the nick of time as Sharp was getting all of this defense set up, and now he's going to wind up losing in a spectacular fashion here. Jaedong getting on top of all of these turrets, just killing them off one by one. He's ravaged the production line, and back at home, he can easily drone up. He can continue on in this game from a magnificent position, but he's actually still building Mutagen. He's still building Lings, and he's just going to go ahead for the kill right here, right now. He doesn't have any time to waste. He's got more players to kill here. There's still other Protoss and Terrans in this lineup.
Yeah, I don't think the Lings will be too successful in getting in here, but he's done the job of exposing the soft underbelly of this command center in the natural. It's going to have to float off an evacuate. He's got quite a lot of turrets finished up in the main base, so he can't just pull the trigger on ending Sharp just yet, but he will slowly start whittling the Terran down, picking off buildings on the periphery that are outside of the zone of protection of those turrets. He can kill these supply depots in the main base on the south, for example. He doesn't have to necessarily go for a checkmate move of diving on top of those turrets. He can just whittle down some of the value that Sharp has been able to muster while non-stop producing Mutalisks and slowly but surely drive Sharp out of this game. You can see Sharp is building some turrets on the south side of that command center, knowing that he has to protect those supply depots.
Is it time to make Guardians? Are we gonna go to Queen's Nest? I mean, it's so hard to build buildings right now. How are you ever gonna fit a factory and a bunch of starports when there's so much pressure going on right now? He's got a ton of mutas sitting on the right-hand side with very little HP, almost no HP on a lot of these, so they could be easily utilized for a play like that. But Jaedong actually added quite a few drones, and he hasn't thrown down a third just yet. He is going to come in here, continue to delay mining in this natural, start to pick off some more SCVs. SCV count is extremely low. Sharp is still hanging in there on just a hope that maybe he can make something happen. His eBay went down. I believe he lost +1. He's remaking it right now. It's so rough for Sharp, but he's continuing on in this game again because he knows how close he came, and he just cannot let it go right now.
Yeah, it seems like the move from Jaedong is to just, instead of going for something like Guardians, he's going to try and get a checkmate move of containing him with a few lurkers. If you set up a contain of like 4 or 5, 6 lurkers in this natural rally point, and science vessels haven't even been made yet, that's pretty much GG for Terran. So he's going to win that way, and he will have Defiler tech following that up to go for the Cheeto Dust Cloud maneuver as well. Sharp kind of knows that. That's why he's being aggressive with his Bioforces, because he doesn't want to allow something like a lurker contain to go up for free here, and needs to also threaten the idea of counterattacks, because he knows there's probably not a lot of defenses for Jaedong back at home as well.
There's that hive coming online. Lurker upgrade not quite finished here. 900 gas in the bank, so Jaedong has plenty to go ahead and invest into all of those lurkers. Just waiting. There it is. gas disappears and the lurkers will be made. I believe that these will be ready by the time Sharp's coming into this. And naturally, yeah, there they are. Lurkers are going to be ready here. Sharp pushing forward. So many Mutalisks in the air, though. All Jaedong needs to do is just delay this by a tiny amount and then engage right as the Lurkers finish. Gonna come forward here. There's the Lurkers. They all finish. Burrow goes down. He's gonna get a few kills on the outro as well, picking off a few of those medics as Sharp begins to retreat. Base in the top right-hand corner is gonna be taken. What am I looking at here? Command center has been placed way off to the left-hand side just to build the comm sat. He knows he can't mine from that.
Yeah, he knows he's not mining in that natural expansion for quite some time. This is such a well-executed continuation from Jaedong, understanding the game state enough and having the composure and the patience not to overstay his welcome at any junction, and always finding the value trades that he needs and just barely not allowing the timing windows to be exploited by Sharp. Like, Sharp was so potentially going to come in there and wipe him out before those lurkers were finished morphing, but Jaedong had everything mapped out so perfectly that he knew he was just barely safe, and there wasn't that like 5-10 second critical window of timing for Sharp to exploit.
I can't believe Sharp saved that +1. I mean, he saved the eBay there. That's crazy. Greater Spire on the way finally.
Ooh.
Gonna threaten with the Guardians. He is gonna push up with the Lurkers as well. Lurker plus Guardian. That's a pretty expensive composition, but it's very hard to stop. Sharp does not have any starports here just yet. He may have started one just now. I believe he's got a factory here somewhere. He's making a tank. He's trying to set up this naturally. He's actually got to be close to mining out in the main base with such a high saturation for so long.
Yeah, pretty much. If you're mining this highly saturated, you mine out approximately like between 1 and 2 minutes faster than usual, so that's definitely going to become an eventuality at like 15 minutes 30, maybe 16 minutes. And now cleaning up the Bioforce as well on the periphery of Jaedong's rally point. I mean, this is just a nightmare for Sharp. There's not really much hope left for him. He's gone for a tank push as his, you know, continuation play. This contingency can work out for him, but he needs to trade better than he has been for that to transpire. He's even getting Wraiths now. I think he's scanned and identified the Greater Spire, so he's got some counterplay to the Guardians. If you know they're on the way, you can make Wraiths to deal with them instead of relying on too many Irradiates being levied that way. He's not even got the Irradiate or the vessels to do that, so the Wraiths will have to do a lot of heavy lifting. And if he keeps the Mutalisks down here to defend the Guardians, those Wraiths won't actually be able to do the job they need to without Cloak.
Yeah, and there's an Overlord there as well, so even if they had Cloak, it would be difficult. He's going to wait for quite a few Wraiths to be made before diving in here. There's still about 4 or 5 Mutas over at this position. There's a Devourer as well. Really strong follow-up here from Jaedong. A bunch of Lurkers in the middle of the map. It's going to prevent Sharp from really making any progress. I think there's 2-3 tanks actually coming over towards the front. Guardians can easily come back for the defense, though. It's such a short distance by air from the bottom left to the bottom right, and oh my gosh, he's even got Dark Swarm. Easily gonna shut down this tank attack. So Sharp he's dead in the water. He's got nothing to do here aside from tap out.
Yeah.
He's waiting on these extra Wraiths to hopefully just wipe out all of the Guardians. But even then, how does he stabilize in this game, man? It's so tough.
I mean, the only thing that would make this better is if Jaedong made a single queen to infest the command center in the natural. That'd be like the ultimate like middle finger to Sharp in this game. He's made pretty much every unit in the game except Ultralisks and Queens thus far. You could even sometimes see an end snare for those Wraiths as well, but he's going to finally try and get on top of these Guardians in the air. Now finally with those Acid Spores connecting from the Devourer, though, going to make it more and more paper thin on those airplanes in the sky. They're already so easy to kill, and with negative armor, they take so much damage from just a few Mutalisk glaives. You don't need a lot to clean them up. As you can see, they all fall in pretty short order. Now Jaedong looking for that checkmate move of getting over here to the rally point location in the natural and throw down some Cheeto clouds to finally stamp out this Terran from the game. He's got a third base that's finished up at the 12 o'clock, but he hasn't yet saturated that. It's such a low economic, scrappy game we've seen from Jaedong in pretty much all three games. Against Snow, he had a bit more of a solid macro play going, but pretty much every game has been an absolute crazy show.
Oh my gosh, Plague as well. We can't really see it because Terran player is red, but he got a big Plague on a bunch of those Marines. He's pushed everything all the way back into the natural. Jaedong actually starting to run out of minerals in his own main and natural. That's going to happen soon as well. Firebat's trying to push forward here. No medics in support of this. He's making some vultures here. It's crazy that Sharp is still in this game on 42 supply.
Yeah, I imagine he's a little bit frustrated right now. I mean, I would be if I was Sharp and having to deal with this. Jaedong finally starting to drive more nails into the coffin, though. Every time he's dark swarming and leapfrogging his lurkers forward, just pushes Sharp closer and closer to defeat. He's shuffling the tank back to a better spot on the high ground, but without irradiates to start to clean this up. This is a slow but painful death for him. Another stream of Zerglings come in. A few of them get consumed. He's going to plant down another cloud on top of that. Oh, actually a Plague on those SCVs. This is insane. Those SCVs are going to die so quickly. 14 kills on that one subterranean spy for a total of 19 now. Absolute insanity we're witnessing here today. Saying, I don't know what the script writers had in store for us today, but it seems like Jaedong is the main character.
Absolutely the main character here. Jaedong just crushing through this lineup and doing it in one of the most spectacular ways I've ever seen. Keeping it incredibly scrappy and giving us some awesome games to witness. This is some of the best StarCraft I've seen in a long time. I mean, last week again was fantastic, but it's getting to the point where I might say that this is even better.
It is, honestly. I mean, it was really interesting watching the fusion earrings and seeing the two squads come together and getting to see Flash on the stage. But I mean, this is just as exciting, if not more exciting. GG is finally caught, and Jaedong, the unstoppable Tyrant, eliminates another name off the board. There is just Mini and Speed waiting to fight against him and Soma. It's gonna be Mini first up to bat on that chopping block. Can he completely shift the tempo and bring out some crazy good plays to slow down this Tyrant in his absolute crazy showing? These last 3 games back-to-back, non-stop, nail-biting action that's been displayed by him. I really want Mini to stop Jaedong just so that we see Soma, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I think that Mini is one of the best in these scrappy situations. Like, nobody plays better than Mini when it comes to low econ, crazy games.
Yeah.
His ability to throw in DTs and just get so much value out of every single unit in those scrappy fights is unmatched, and we'll see if he can bring another crazy game here. Jaedong might just have met his match. Here we go. Absolutely non-stop action, back to back to back. Jaedong just giving us some of the greatest games and making me excited to see his run this season, man. I mean, he has kind of tickled me a little bit here and there. He's kind of giving me a little hope that we might see the Tyrant in his full form, but each time it's been a little bit disappointing. It's similar with a lot of different I get the same feeling with so many people. Most notably, I think recently was Speed. Last season, I thought that Speed was just so utterly dominant and just such an interesting player to watch, and he was performing at such a high level, way beyond what I thought possible. And then he got into the ASL and just wasn't quite able to perform at that same level. We'll see if Jaedong can do something like that. He is looking absolutely unstoppable tonight.
Yeah, I think Speed was performing really well in some of those very early group stages in the event, but maybe the nerves got the better of him the deeper he went and just wasn't able to hang with some of these other guys. Definitely that is a factor, and players like Jaedong, they're much more cool as a cucumber under the spotlight with an audience, and definitely a fan favorite as well, so he's going to be wanting to perform for his fans at ASL. It's really crazy how many people show up for guys like Jaedong and Bisu at events like ASL. They basically are like rock stars to their fans and the community, so it will be really a big treat if they can perform under pressure and under the guise of so many fandoms surrounding them. I don't even know what would happen if somehow Jaedong was performing out of his mind and got through to like the quarterfinals or the semifinals. The fans would be going absolutely nuts, like K-pop fans just screaming in the rafters. But we'll see. I mean, Jaedong's still got a lot to contend with. There's a lot of great players out there, and he's performing pretty good here in the KCM, but translating that to a very strong ASL run is another thing entirely.
Absolutely. That's a completely different animal. But yeah, I can imagine if we saw Jaedong make it into a semifinals or a finals, it would be nearly impossible to buy a ticket to the ASL that season.
Yeah.
They would be selling out in seconds. This guy is incredibly well loved, has a massive following. Mini, this guy managing to get in here and actually continuing some harassment over on the side of Jaedong. Is he actually going to get this drone? He's doing so much damage to it. Back at home, he's actually got zealots here. One on the ramp, one over at this gateway. Oh my gosh. Okay, he's got to keep that alive. So close here on just 6 HP.
Yeah, gonna be a bit of a skill check here from Jaedong. Oh, beautiful surround on that Zealot. He's gonna potentially kill that. It's so low on HP. Has to pull the other one out to defend it. 4-1 does kill it. And now 3 links getting into the main base as well. It's absolutely insanity what we're seeing from Jaedong here. That is such a well executed, ambitious play from him, and it pays off. And now he's got Jaedong Zerglings in the main base of Mini, with more Zerglings at home to defend against any possible scouting information from that probe. So Mini doesn't know exactly what this is going to be. Is it going to be all-in floods of Zerglings or just a normal macro game? He has no way of telling right now. He has to kind of commit his forces to identifying what's happening back at home to know how to scale his own defenses against this. This could just be some good task switching ability from Jaedong to put on pressure into the main base while teching up and macroing normally. And back in the day, if Jaedong got a few Zerglings in the main base, you were basically dead in terms of how good his task switching ability was. I mean, gone are those days. He's not going to necessarily win off the back of these 3 Zerglings in the main base, especially with a gateway first opening. Having this Zealot to play keep away with those will stop Mini taking too much of a disastrous loss back at home, but still really well played from Jaedong.
Yeah, fantastically well played. I mean, you're completely right with that. The Jaedong Lings making their way into the main base used to be a death sentence. It's not necessarily that Jaedong is not as good with the Lings anymore. It's more that Protoss players have gotten way better at dealing with it, and basically nearly every ASL level Zerg player can get a lot of damage with their Lings if they manage to sneak into your base. It's just at the time when Jaedong was so prominent in the Kespa era, his Ling control was something that was feared and well known throughout the scene. Looks like he's gonna get at least 1 probe here. He's been doing a great job of moving these around, but yeah, this is something that basically every Protoss player in today's era is well versed in. They know how to deal with it. Does get another probe here though. Even Mini susceptible to the strong Zergling micro Jaedong today.
Yeah, you can see why he was so dominant back in the day, and Gateway Expand wasn't really a thing back then as well, so they didn't even have this Zealot to play keep away with those Zerglings as well. And even with the Zealot, he's still ramping up the pressure, and even if he doesn't kill probes here on the gas, he's forcing a little bit of lost mining, so that's a few cycles of gas that Mini's not getting, making it harder to squeeze out the upgrades and Corsairs and High Templars that he needs going forward. So all of that damage was definitely worth it for Jaedong, and he did kill a few probes as well. So yeah, really nicely done from him, and we'll probably have a really nice game on our hands as a result. Mini's no pushover or slouch though. As long as he doesn't tilt too much, he's always seemingly confident.
Yeah, he is well known for tilting in difficult situations. It's a bit of a flaw for this Protoss player. It's something that's held him back in the past, and you know, his passion for the game, it's something that has definitely served him in the past. It's also hindered him as well. We can see a Zealot getting picked off here as it tries to move out to reinforce these other 4 Zealots that are making their way over towards this 3rd base. There are so many lings here, Shun. He's going to absolutely wipe this out before the +1 comes online. This is amazing for Jaedong right now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I remember watching some old VODs of Jaedong outside of playing, and when he wasn't playing Starcraft, he was saying stuff like, "Oh, juggling Pokoshipayo," which basically means, "Oh, I miss my Zerglings." And I think they are basically his favorite unit in the game. He's so good with them, and they've definitely done a lot of heavy lifting for him in his career. So it's definitely a treat to see him utilize them now. At such an old age, he's still performing at such a high level. It's a really big treat. We used to think back in the day that gamers were kind of like in their peak at like 20 years old, and they're never ever gonna get to that level of play again the older they get, and you're gonna have to retire. But now it seems like experience wins out over high execution in StarCraft, and that's a really fantastic thing, because it means that there's a hope for this game to stay alive for a lot longer.
Dude, I think that Mini lost a Corsair there. Jaedong was able to slip in and get a kill on one of those. That's something that rarely ever happens at this highest level. That you're just not paying attention to your Corsairs, and boom, one goes down in the natural. That's so rough for Mini, and he's gonna try to come in here, deal a little damage, but great play from Jaedong to get that Zealot to glitch, and he's just gonna pick off every single ground unit here on the field for Mini, limiting his ability to do any sort of counterattack, to scout what's going on here. Jaedong gonna go ahead and take a 4th base while getting into this excellent drone saturation where he can just do basically whatever he wants. 4th base in the bottom right is already down, excuse me, and so he's going to be going into that later stages of the game with some serious finesse.
Yeah, this Archon's going to play point defense. It can one-shot the Scourge with its Sonic Shockwave, and he'll have to play keep away with these Corsairs. Does manage to actually break the ankles of those Scourge and dive through the center mass of those and survive without falling yet. So this hope of Mini is still alive and coming down here and getting some tactical damage done. Has to be really careful about how he moves around with his units, and that Archon is his lifeline of protecting that Corsair fleet by being an active threat against the Scourge there. Looks like Jaedong cycling around, wants to try and pressure this 3rd base attempt here from Mini that's now being set up.
Yeah, he wants to try and get in here and prevent this. Looks like should be able to keep this alive. Mini's got the Archon plus all the Corsairs and potentially a Storm as well. But Jaedong is just accelerating. He is going to go ahead and throw down that Queen's Nest. He's got double Evo, maybe triple Evo already. Plus this 4th base, he just made a huge transfer of drones down there. Despite what Mini's doing, you know, being pretty good here, getting this very quick extra base on just what is it, 6 gateways? That's pretty risky for the Protoss. 6 gateways is pretty low. In terms of production, you're not really getting that many units out right now, so it is dangerous. Mini taking some necessary risks right now, but Jaedong is, again, accelerating ahead.
Right, I mean, he's almost eyeing up that all-kill prize already. He can't get it by taking out Mini, since Bisu was the one that fell to Royal earlier on. So he needs to kill Mini and Speed to get the all-kill prize from taking down all 3 of the Terran squad players. So that'd be kind of a treat if we do somehow see Jaedong go on a strong enough warpath to achieve that. I'm going to be a little bit sad that we don't get to see Soma play, but I'm still happy for Jaedong that he's putting on such a dominant show here in this week at KCM.
This game is far from over, though. Mini is putting in a good effort here, continuing to try to roam with this army. It hasn't really been too successful so far. He's lost so many zealots that this army is very small. Just a small contingent of zealots with single Archon and a few Corsairs is all he's managed to muster. He is going to be bringing up some High Templars here, getting the storm off. Excellent storm there on a lot of these Scourge, really removing that air threat for the most part, but the threat is completely switched over here. Jaedong is in full Hydralisk production mode, and he is going to be able to defend from a pretty good position. These High Templars need to get one massive storm on the big group of Hydras here on the left-hand side. He's not able to get it. All the Templars go down, and this army is going to be completely cleared.
I think that High Templar was just barely shy of 75 energy to storm on top of that mineral line there. Probably had like 70 to 73 or something, and Mini was hoping to squeeze it off right before it fell. Unfortunately for him, had a small window of opportunity, but it closes on him quite quickly. And Jaedong, yeah, looking in a more and more dominant position as we go on here. Defiler Mound now on the way. 1-1 upgrades to just the +1 of a Mini here. Definitely not the position you want to be in, and eventually he's going to start churning out plagues to make the value trades go even more effectively on his side of things. And yeah, Mini's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting in this game. I think he needs a 4th base like yesterday to have a chance. He's starting to throw that down now at the 3 o'clock position. Maybe he can use this as a forward operating base to launch assaults on Jaedong on this vertical axis in the bottom right, but it also is a pretty exposed position that could be exploited as well. It's going to be hard for him to defend his 12 o'clock from counterattacks if he's leveraging all of his forces here on the eastern flank.
Filers are going to be out here soon for Jaedong. He has so much production rolling that he's eclipsing the supply of Mini now with all these lurkers being made. It's hard to imagine Mini managing to take a reasonable fight here. He's actually going to get completely surrounded, Shun. I mean, he's got to retreat up onto the high ground now over at center right, and there are multiple attacks coming in different directions in different locations. Bunch of cannons here on the high ground. He's got one storm. Not sure if he can hold on to that 12 o'clock. So many units are being brought to bear on that location, and yeah, he is going to break directly through here with plenty to spare. Lots of Hydras get up onto this high ground as well. Mini's been broken absolutely everywhere, and Jaedong clearing him out with ease. This is some impressive StarCraft we're watching today.
I mean, I'm getting chills, honestly, saying that's insane. Jaedong identified the weakness of Mini's position instantly, not able to defend that 12 o'clock while consolidating all of his defenses there at 3. And honestly, that attack was one of the most spectacular executions we've seen. He almost had that execution against Snow in the natural third as well on that Circuit Breakers map, new one, but not quite as dominant as a showing as we just saw there. You can see almost the speechlessness in the face of KCM and kind of like a wry grin, because he knows we're seeing something quite special here today, and Jaedong is playing out of his mind with only Speed remaining as the last Terran hope.
The final hope of the Terran race here, Speed in the top right-hand corner. Final hurdle between Jaedong and that all-kill prize. 900,000 won on the table. He just needs to reach out and take it. We're here on our final map, Litmus, the last new map in the pool.
Yeah.
which we haven't seen too much of yet, Shun. Again, it's kind of a combination of Optimizer with that double gas and something like Dark Origin with that long back pathway and temples kind of defending that area.
Right. And honestly, an interesting name for a map. Litmus definitely going to be testing the pH levels of both of these players and how acidic or alkaline they are in their approach to some of these new maps and how they want to tackle them. Are they going to play just very standard and true to themselves, or are they going to try and do something really ambitious and utilize the strange geometry, the fact that there's this very early second gas in the main you could exploit as well? Seems like the idea from Speed here is just to be really annoying, throw down an engineering blade block in the natural expansion and really thwart the timings of Jaedong's 12 hatch.
Yeah, this is super annoying. Definitely something you have to deal with on a two-player map pretty often. He's gonna pull a lot of drones to deal with this. One SCV was pulled off very early, so there's quite a bit of lost mining time from that. But this is incredible slowdown right now. The thing is, Jaedong can just continue to build drones here because he knows that, there's not going to be an early attack. There's not like an 8 Rex where you also build an eBay in the natural. It's just not a thing. You can't put on the pressure and block here. So getting this spawning pool a little bit later is going to be fine for Jaedong.
Yeah, and that's one thing you see from a lot of these high-level Zerg players. They've kind of got it mapped out what they should do to compensate. So it's not the end of the world for the Zerg. It's just a little bit annoying. And obviously, it's a very zero-sum game, StarCraft. So these tiny little micro advantages can still snowball into bigger advantages the longer the phases of the game shift. So even though Speed didn't just completely destroy the build order from Jaedong there, he did enough damage that unless Jaedong is really perfect in how he min-maxes and adjusts his play based on the adjustments to the timings he has to make, he won't be too far behind in this game, but it's behind enough for Speed to make something of it. And he's going for a more tech-heavy play here with this factory on the periphery. He could actually float that over to this third base location and build vultures in a way that might not be spotted by the Overlord.
Yeah, this is the way that I like to see Speed play, honestly. I feel like he fell back and leaned a little bit too hard on kind of more standard bio play in his ASL runs recently. I really do like when he plays this more teched out style and tries some sneaky tactics. He's so good with vultures and controlling wraiths that I love when he leans on that play. And in fact, we are going to end up seeing that here. Double Wraith to follow up this eBay block. I love it, Shun. We are going to have a crazy game pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, that's for sure, Zayn. And you know what? With that eBay block, it does slow down the economy of the Zerg just enough that it will be a little bit more potent than usual. He actually is gonna go for the safety den to mitigate that. He knows there's a strong likelihood of something like a Speed Vulture run by, a Vulture drop into the main base, or a 2-port Wraith are all very likely candidates from Speed, and getting this quick den to make 2 to 4 Hydras or so will be able to mitigate a lot of potential disaster from that. So, I mean, he does have a hope here of still defending against this. Speed's going to try and hop over this Vulture, over this little mineral in the back wall, but Jaedong's waiting for it with some Speedlings.
Yeah, I mean, Jaedong's just read this way too well. He's going to go through and boom, that's just going to go down immediately. It doesn't matter how good of control you have with a Vulture. If there's a bunch of Speedlings waiting in that tight corridor, there's nothing that can be done. And Speed, unfortunately for him, he's going to lose that immediately. Hydras pushing out right now. Speed identifies it. He sees it. He's going to need a bunker here ASAP. This is a very big threat right now with a bunch of wraiths being made. You're not going to be able to hold back the Hydra flood.
Yeah, and excuse me, those weren't actually speedlings, they were slowlings, so as well done from Jaedong to have a good line of those to prevent the Vulture from getting room to micro. Race now taking down one of the Overlords, does supply Jaedong temporarily, will try and take a few swipes at the drone line, does pick off one, needs to pull back though, dangerously low on HP on one of those Wraiths. Ideally, you might want to get that all the way back home for a repair. He has forced a bunker out of speed to hold the line, but the reality is that Jaedong can pick away at this supply depot wall because of this setup, and now Speed in a little bit of trouble because I don't think he can actually save these depots unless he challenges the Hydras.
Well, he can outrange the Hydras technically for the time being and force this back. It is some difficult micro, but Speed is absolutely capable of it. There's the tank now, so he can get back onto the other side of the map and get a little bit more aggressive with these Wraiths once again. He's completely stopped Wraith production here, and he's going to throw down an eBay. That's probably going to be for a Marine transition after the fact. Interesting decision here from Speed. Not even going to try to take that natural. He's going to go for probably, 2-3 more barracks and just go for the kill. Is that what we're looking at here, Shu?
Yeah, potentially. It does look like he's lining up for something like that. You usually wouldn't see this kind of play from a Terran player unless they're looking for a one-base timing. But he's also maybe anticipating Jaedong to transition into Mutalisks after just making a few rounds of Hydras, but with Jaedong actually making like non-stop Hydras, maybe Speed will change his game plan and just defend and then take a natural while using the Wraiths to harass. I think once he identifies that Jaedong is making just crazy amounts of Hydras, he might actually want to be the defensive player after the fact.
Oh, it's so annoying. Jaedong's got Burrow. It's a beautiful decision to get Burrow in a situation like this. The Terran player is so strapped when it comes to income to cash flow at the time like this. You just can't afford to get comsats here. And so that natural is just going to be very hard to take. He's going to have to build a turret down there to make that happen. You can see that it appears that that Ling was actually killed, but here comes another one. Gonna go ahead and just burrow right there in the same spot. Super annoying stuff for Speed to deal with, but he's gonna start to go across the map now. 6 Wraiths with Cloak. That could do a lot of damage if Jaedong's not prepared.
Yeah, there's a few good scouting Zerglings that are burrowed in the path of these Wraiths as well, so he's responding very well into the main base to the active threat. He's collapsing on these other Wraiths as well. Cloak is done, so is Overlord Speed. The crazy game does continue. Some damage done to the drone line in the natural expansion with at least 5 Wraiths with good target firing. You can one-shot down those drones, and he's got 6 to guarantee the kill on those, so that even if all of the burst lasers aren't perfectly synchronized, he should still get the snipes that he needs to on these critical mining units of Jaedong. A few of the drones successfully borrowing, but borrowing not the most, surefire way of making sure each drone lives. It is a bit of a long animation.
That was so much damage. How many drones did he kill there? 6?
Quite a lot, yeah.
This is showcasing Speed's ability to control these Wraiths. That's what I was talking about earlier and what we expect to see from Speed. The ability to just pick away at this Zerg player is fantastic. He's getting so much damage. He's even going to come through here. Even with the burrow, not able to really get too much. Some of these Overlords are going to start to go down. Look at that control, man. He is doing so much with so little here. And I mean, he's not going to have a natural base. We're just going to see one massive push from Speed. And with the amount of slowdown he's done with all of these Wraiths, I think it could be successful. Wait, he is going to get a command command center. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, I thought he would. Yeah, since it's predominantly a Hydra force from Jaedong, I think it makes sense to kind of just sit back and take an expansion and then be aggressive. And he is going to eventually have a Spire and transition, but since he's made almost non-stop Hydras this entire time, it makes sense not to take any gambles. Like, there's a chance that if he pushes out early on with these tanks and tries to put Jaedong on a clock, like Jaedong just flanks the tanks and suddenly resets the entire game state for Speed, and Speed's in a lot of trouble. So this game plan makes a lot more sense from Speed, given that Jaedong has focused so much into just making a crazy amount of these Hydras.
I didn't expect him to go so heavy into tanks here. I really expected, you know, 2-3 more barracks to come down and a big marine attack to come out. That's how I lose a lot of my games against this style. You get a little bit of harassment done with the wraiths, and then you come across the map with a scary amount of bio at a really surprising time, and then you know, bust through the sunken colonies using the wraiths and the marines in tandem here. A large amount of mutas have been made, and this is like 11 wraiths, man. It's so many wraiths that have been made by Speed, but they do die incredibly fast when it comes to just straight up trading with mutas. Enough now with the wraiths to actually one-shot these Hydralists. The burrow's still coming in handy though, keeping some of those alive.
Yeah, Jaedong kind of shocking around, looking like he might want to break Speed. He's going to fly into the natural now, see the tanks that are pretty exposed with just a couple of marines and turrets to defend them. Wraiths out of position, unable to hold the line in the skies. Jaedong going for a checkmate move now, getting on top of all the tanks. Only 2 tanks remaining. The SCV's trying to desperately repair, unsuccessful in doing so. They're body blocking the Hydras from getting too deep into the natural expansion, but the damage already done. He's lost all of the tanks. Now the natural is exposed. He does still have some cloaked wraiths in the skies, but Jaedong going to be collapsing on this natural position and putting Speed into a world of hurt.
This is such a well executed attack here from Jaedong. As soon as he sees the wraiths out of position, goes in for the attack. The killer instinct on this guy is really something else, man. It is something special to see Jaedong just absolutely on top of his game and showing us that killer instinct once again.
That's one of the things that a lot of pro gamers have said that set Jaedong apart, especially in the past, was he was one of the only pro gamers that never hesitated. Like, a lot of pro gamers kind of size up their opponent. Should I go in? Should I not go in? For a few seconds before pulling the trigger. Not Jaedong. He sees the units on the screen and pulls the trigger instantly. Like you say, just pure raw killer instinct. He's like a shark swimming. As soon as he smells that blood, he's just diving on top of his opponent, forces the GG out of Speed, and gonna be getting that all-kill prize of 900,000 won. Absolutely dominating performance from Jaedong here tonight. Really exceptional stuff, and we don't even get to see anything from Soma as a result. I'm a little bit annoyed about that, but it's a real treat to see the Tyrant at full power level.
Another mesmerizingly good series here today, guys. Week number 2 did not disappoint. Jaedong shooting from the hip. The killer instinct on this guy. I mean, how does he keep doing this to me, Shun? Every season, the past couple of seasons, he's been making me believe that the Tyrant has returned, and then we get into the ASL, and I'm like, well, maybe not this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like John Wick in retirement age. Like, he's still got a lot of moves, but he can't necessarily, you know, pull it off in quite the same convincing fashion. But it's still, overall, when all said and done, such a magical experience to watch him play like that. And we were just talking a little bit off air about how some of these games are still really close. Like, he's not technically dominating, but he is still pulling out the win conditions, sometimes out of thin air as well, like that game against Sharp. What can you say about this guy? Like, honestly, one of the best, like, cowboys in the scene, and like, no matter what duel you put him in, he doesn't even need to look down the iron sights to hit you in the head.
Absolute showstopper, getting that all-kill prize. Jaedong denies us from it, the the Soma games that we were looking forward to seeing, but puts on an amazing show nonetheless. You can't be disappointed here. And we're just going to have to count our lucky stars that we got to see Jaedong in such a form in 2025. Fantastic week of KCM, guys. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for more amazing action, guys. We're just here in week number 2. So many more weeks of KCM. It's all going to be going down as the ASL progresses. ASL 20 is going to be starting next week. It's going to be the 18th through the 20th, and then we're going to have the 25th through the 27th as well. So that's going to be super exciting. All that's going to be going down on SCTVEN over on Soup Live. You can check out the link in the description, guys, and send us some love over there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.